This is the tutorial for Chapter 3, Section 2, titled Angles of Triangles. And we've got two different types of problems we're going to end up seeing here. We're going to either find interior angles of triangles or exterior angles. And so these are, in this case, we're looking at interior angles. And the interior angles are just the ones inside the triangles, like 32x and 48. So what we ended up seeing is that if we cut a triangle into pieces, if we cut this angle and this angle, and we line them up right outside here, if I take this angle right here and I line it up, and this would be like the x angle, and then I take this 48 and I cut it off. So I cut those two angles and I line it up over here. This would be that 48 degrees. And what we ended up seeing is that this made a straight angle. And so a straight angle is 180 degrees every single time. So what we saw is that all the angles in a triangle sum to make 180 degrees. And that's what we're going to end up using to help us solve this problem. So 48 plus x plus 32, that's the sum of the angles, and it equals 180 degrees. So when I sum these two numbers, that gives me 80, and then plus the x equals 180 degrees. And then I go ahead and subtract that 80, and that gives me my missing angle, which is 100 degrees. And so that is what x is in this case, and the interior angles, because sometimes they ask about what the interior angles are. Those are just the 32 degree angle, the 48 degree angle, and the 100 degree angle. So taking a look at the next problem is a little bit trickier because there's more unknowns. Well, we see the same sort of thing though. No matter what, these two angles, when we sum them together and this one, we end up with 180 degrees. And so all I'm going to do is just take the angles, x minus 35, and I also have the 43 degree angle. I'm going to sum those angles and they equal 180 degrees. So when I combine these two, that gives me 2x. And then over here I've got to subtract those two numbers because they're opposite in sign. So when I go ahead and do the subtraction, I have to borrow, and that leaves me with 8. And so I have positive 8 because I have more positives than negatives. And then I have to subtract that number from 180 degrees, and that's going to give me 172 equals 2x. So when I go ahead and divide by 2, that's going to end up giving me, in this case, 2 goes into 7. We have 8 times, makes 16 with 1 left over. It goes into 12 6 times, so 86 degrees. That's going to be this angle up here inside the triangle there. And then this angle, I just have to subtract that 35 degrees from 86. And so when I do that subtraction, it leaves me with 51 degrees. So this angle inside here is 51 degrees. And then I have the 43 degree angle as well as the interior angles. So for this next problem, so we have this symbol right here, just means it's 90 degrees. So 90 plus x plus the x plus 28. And that gives me a total of 180 degrees. So no matter what, every single time, notice that the sum of the angles equals 180 degrees. So I go ahead and add up my x's, and that makes 2x. 90 and 28 is going to give me 118 equals 180. So when I go ahead and subtract that 118 from both sides, remember you have to borrow, and that leaves me with 62 equals 2x. So when I go ahead and divide by 2, x is 31 degrees. So that's that angle. That's solving for x. So I've got 31 degrees here, and this angle, well, I have to add 28 to 31. And so when I do that, I get 59 degrees. So this angle here is 59 degrees. And then I have the 90 degree angle as the right angle. So those are interior angles. Now let's take a look at exterior angles. An exterior angle is formed when we go ahead and draw a line past the triangle, and we have an angle outside the triangle. And so this is an exterior angle. And so what we're going to end up noticing about an exterior angle is if we took, remember, all angles in a triangle add to make 180. So 72 plus 36. If I take that and subtract that from 180, that would give me this angle. Well, also a straight line makes 180 degrees. And so what we're going to end up noticing is if we had this angle, we could end up subtracting it from 180 and it would give us this one. Well, if that's the case, if I took these two angles right here, and these are called the remote interior. Now, they're the remote angles in this case because they are further from the exterior angle. They're not adjacent. So this angle is adjacent next to. So these are called the remote interior angles. And if I took those two angles and I lined them up right inside here, I took the 36-degree angle and I put that there. And then, so that's the 36 right there. And then I took this 72-degree angle and I put it right here. We notice that they would line up perfectly with this exterior angle. And that's what happens. So the two remote angles, if we sum the two remote, let's say sum two remote interior angles, if we sum those two remote interior angles, they equal the exterior angle. And so that's what I'm going to do here. I have 36 plus 72 is going to end up equaling that exterior angle of x. And so if I add those two numbers, that gives me 108 degrees equals x. That's what the answer would be for this one. Now, if using that, I can go ahead and solve a little bit more challenging problem. So these are my two remote interior angles, and they will sum to equal the exterior angle over here. So I'm going to take that 80-degree angle, I'm going to add it to the a minus 5, and it's going to end up equaling 2a. And so when I go ahead and combine some terms, I have a minus or plus 75 equals 2a. So now I'll go ahead and subtract the a from both sides. That gives me 75 equals a. Now that is just what a is, but notice we want the exterior angle here. And so if I was to find this angle, I'd have to do 2 times 75, which would equal 150 degrees. So this angle is 150 degrees. Now if they wanted this one, I'd have to take 75 minus the 5, and that would give me 70 degrees here. So that is the exterior angle, and you would see that if we went ahead and added these two angles together, 70 plus 80, they make the 150. And we could go ahead and find this angle right here a couple ways. We could subtract 180 from, or subtract the 150 from 180, and that gives us 30 degrees. And you'll notice that if we took these two angles, that makes 150. Subtract that from 180, we get the same exact answer. So those are the types of problems you're going to see on your homework tonight. Good luck.